All right, today we're going to focus our attention today on veterans getting benefits. That's the bottom line. And I have a guest with me today who has a lot of experience in helping vets get benefits that are due to them. His name is Steve Prince, and he is a veteran service representative. He actually is under, he gave me his card, and it's Vietnam Veterans of America. So Stephen has been in our community for how long? How long have you lived here?
I've lived here pretty much all my life.
Oh, okay. All right, good. So you were talking about, you had told me before that you've helped help folks file like 30,000 claims since 2002. So you've been doing this type of work since then?
Yeah, actually about 2000.
Okay, all right. 30,000 claims. That's a lot.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people out there that need help.
There are.
So.
All right. Well, I want to start with, the original reason that I, dug you up, looked for you, tried to find somebody who could talk about this subject that I want to talk about, and that's Agent Orange. That's the first thing I want to talk about. And then we've got a whole long list of other things too. But Agent Orange, and you were telling me that you first became even interested in this problem with veterans because of your brother.
Yes, yeah.
What happened? What happened?
Rex had a heart attack. He was helping me trim a bush at my home. And he was the kind of fella that had a hard time keeping a job. He didn't like people telling him what to do. And when he was at my home one day, he had a heart attack and, chest pains. And since I had already had heart problems, I offered him a nitro. And he said that he didn't have a job, so he couldn't buy any when that was gone. So why get started?
Mm-hmm.
4 days later, Mama found him dead in his bed from a massive heart attack. And a week later, I found out about the VA and found out he could have been getting his medical care for free. So I went to a friend of mine who was the state president for the Vietnam Vets of America and asked him how I could keep this from happening to any other vets.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on disability at the time, so they sent me through all the schools. I got my accreditation, and I've been doing this ever since.
Was he exposed to Agent Orange?
No, Agent Orange had nothing to do with him.
Okay.
I did lose a brother, Charlie, due to Agent Orange, who's a helicopter machine gunner, 2 tours in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And he had just about everything listed in his book.
Yeah. So that's because of your brother is how you got involved in helping other people. Well, Agent Orange, for folks that might not have lived through the Vietnam War, what is it?
Agent Orange is a herbicide. Okay, that's all it is. People come to us and say, well, I want to file an Agent Orange claim. Well, there is no Agent Orange claim. What we file for is the things that Agent Orange causes.
Mm-hmm.
And there are like 14 different diseases that are potentially life-taking that are caused by Agent Orange. So that's what we file for.
Mm-hmm. What are some of those?
Leukemia, diabetes type 2, prostate cancer. Now, they're all written down in the book, and they're in what I call doctor speak.
Mm-hmm.
That's something the doctor can read and understand. I can't even wrap my tongue around. So.
Yeah. But there's a pretty good list of them. And the book that you're talking about is, you have brought a book for me to look at. It's called Know Your Benefits, Federal Benefits for Veterans, Dependents, and Survivors. And it's actually written and published by the VA, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Mm-hmm. So that lists in itself right there all of the acceptable, I guess, causes or conditions, I guess.
Yeah, and it really used to be hard to get an Agent Orange claim through. You had to prove you were there and prove it was sprayed. But the VA has changed their attitude to where if a veteran can prove that he was in country, meaning Vietnam, for 24 hours, they just assume the veteran come in contact with Agent Orange.
Mhm. So it was sprayed in Vietnam for the purpose of like killing and destroying foliage, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the enemy couldn't hide, I guess it was. Huh?
Correct.
And were U.S. soldiers sprayed on them, or just it's merely coming in contact with it?
Oh no, that it was sprayed on them. A lot of them would tell you that they could see the birds flying over and feeling it raining down on them while they were on missions.
Oh, okay. All right. So, what kind of help can veterans get if from the Vietnam War if they were in the country for 24 hours? That's it.
What kind of help can they get?
Yes. So that makes them eligible for all various kinds of VA assistance.
Oh yeah. The primary thing though is help with that disability.
Okay.
A veteran who gets diabetes type 2 due to Agent Orange runs into kidney problems and peripheral neuropathy and all kinds of things. But once you're in the VA healthcare system, and that's the thing, that's what's hard to do. Once you're in the VA healthcare system, they'll take care of anything from a hangnail to heart surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
If you have experience out there with Agent Orange or the Vietnam War in itself, I think it would be really interesting to hear from you today. Our phone number is 547-8726. We'd love to add you to the conversation. So, Steve, what if people, the veteran has already died? Are families eligible for any assistance?
It depends on if they died from something caused by Agent Orange.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's on the death certificate and we can prove that that was the cause of death, then we can go back and file. Then you get into a program called Dependent Indemnity Compensation.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be help for the spouse.
So in the beginning, though, assistance or having to prove did you have to prove that you were somehow exposed to Agent Orange?
In the very beginning, yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
not any longer. All you gotta do is prove boots to ground. Now, we do have what they call Blue Water Navy,
Mm-hmm.
and that was our Navy who were aboard ship offshore. Okay? They're not counted as Agent Orange sufferers. Now, you know this stuff was flown, spread out of aircraft. We know it got in the water table, and if it's sprayed out of the aircraft, you can pretty well bet it drifted in the wind currents and probably got to the ships offshore. But we can't prove that.
All right, so kind of an odd exception there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so do you have any idea how many claims that you have helped with Agent Orange over this period of time since like the year 2000?
Good Lord, no. Several thousand.
Several thousand.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's funny because I never advertise what I'm doing. I got every once in a while the Giant Nick will put a blurb in if they've got space. But I've never actively gone out and said, here I am, come see me.
Mm-hmm.
All my connections are 99% word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think with 30,000 clients, I'd have hit bottom.
That's what I would think. Yeah, that's what I would think. But those could be multiple claims of one person, couldn't they be? Or are those 30,000 represent 30,000 different people?
Those different people.
Wow. Okay.
But one thing about Washington State is we're kind of unique because most states, the veteran population decreases. Here in Washington State, our population increases because they come to our bases and they like the area and all that, so they move their family over.
Mhm.
so we get more and more veterans.
Oh, that's interesting. Hey, we're going to take a break here, and we'll be back. We'll be talking more about Agent Orange. We'd sure love to have any folks out there that want to join our conversation to give us a call. That number, 547-8726. We're back in a moment. I have got in the studio with me today Steve Prince, and Steve is somebody who basically works to help veterans file claims with the VA. And Steve, you actually are supported by the Vietnam Veterans of America, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, all right. So if you have a question you want to ask Steve, today is a great time to do it. You can do it on our show. I'm going to give you that phone number, 547-8726, or you can call him individually and get some help from him. I'm going to give you his phone number, so I want you to have a piece of paper ready and a pen. I'll give it to you later as well, but here's his number, his cell number, where you can leave a message, 460-4703. He says he's kind of busy these days because he's working by himself, so just leave a message, and at some point he said he'll get back to you, right, Steve? That's what you did for me.
The number you get is my office number.
Oh, is that your office number?
Yeah,
Oh.
and the cell is 528-0900.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mark that well.
Well, you know what? You will have, I'm sure, some kind of an answering machine on your work number too, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Either one of those numbers, at some point you're going to get a hold of Steve Prince, and he's going to be able to help you if you need some help filing a claim. And what's interesting, I think, is that you make these books available too. Are these free books, this Know Your Benefits, Federal Benefits for Veterans, Dependents, and Survivors?
Yeah, they're kind of hard to get a hold of. They can get most of them through the VA clinic in Richland.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The VA has a thing you can file for. It's called the Environmental Hazards of the Gulf War. And from the toxins from the waste has been affecting our kids' lungs. So it's definitely something he should file for. Get a list of the problems that he's having, the names of the docs that he's seen, and have him give me a call.
There were a number of times in all of the Gulf Wars over there in the activities where there have been oil fields and other petroleum-based industries that have been set on fire. And, you know, it's basically like if someone sets fire to a drum of diesel in your backyard, it's not just wood smoke, it's, you know, heavy petroleum. But I know that whether it was through combat or intentionally set on fire by insurgents or whatever, there have been a lot of petroleum-based industries over there that have gone up in smoke, literally.
Mm-hmm. And they have what they call burn pits, where they just took stuff and burned it. And, you know, we say we didn't know that they had all this dangerous stuff over there. But we don't know what this stuff was involved in.
Mm-hmm.
So they go ahead and burn it, and so you got the residue coming out, and the kids breathing that.
Okay, so are you saying the U.S. burns this, like piles of things?
Well, I wasn't there,
Or-
so
yeah.
I can't
Okay.
say that, but they did burn it. It was burnt.
Well, the other thing is that symptoms for your grandson may show up later. Oftentimes, it takes 20 years for symptoms to show up, don't you think, Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for your call today. Really appreciate it. Hope that helps you. If you have a call you want to ask Steve a question, 547-8726. So what about, he's sort of helped us intro or move towards the next thing I wanted to talk about, and that was injuries of today's vets. What do you think are the top primary things that American men and women who served in Iraq and Afghanistan are seeking help for?
PTSD is the main thing, post-traumatic stress disorder, along with physical disabilities, and TBI.
TBI?
Traumatic brain injury.
Okay.
Now we have probably the best TBI center in Seattle available. And I've been told that when an explosion go off, it has a force of 1,000 miles an hour that goes through you. That's concussion. But that force always comes back, okay? So it's like a boxer being hit. Your brain inside that skull's bouncing back and forth. And they still don't know what, major effects it's causing. And it's a horrible thing.
And a lot of what you're seeing, you hear about the roadside bombs, the IUDs. There have been, of course, explosions in every war, but that has really jumped up because, they're driving along in the Humvee and a roadside bomb goes off, and if it's enough to flip that vehicle into the ditch, you are dealing with that. And a lot of limb injuries, as you said, TBI, a lot of explosion type, very catastrophic, because these bombs, they've learned how to pack a tremendous amount of force into these small objects.
Yeah.
So PTSD has basically been around for all wars, at least for the United States, and I'm sure going back before that. Is it more of a problem today, do you think?
I don't think it's more of a problem today because we still have World War II and Korean and Vietnam guys coming out with it. But I think it's more acceptable now since Vietnam. So our kids are finding themselves more able to express the problem, that they're more willing to seek help. When our fathers and grandfathers went through it, sadly they thought, well, this is part of the life and you suck it up and go on with life. And when the Vietnam guys went into war, they come back with their head all messed up, and they finally went to the government and said, hey, I got a problem, you need to help me fix this. So we kind of opened the door for our future generations, and it is something that can be fixed.
Yeah, back then they called it commonly known as shell shock. I know some of the experiences of my grandfather in World War II. He was blown out of a Jeep in Normandy because he landed on Utah Beach. And my mom said when he came home, she and her mom and sister looked at each other. He got off the plane and they said, this is not the same guy that left and went to England in 1942. And he did get help from the VA and friends, and he was able to, but it traumatically changed his life for a number of years.
Oh, yeah.
It is more acceptable today, I think, to seek treatment, but don't you think that there still is stigma, and it does prevent people from seeking the help that is out there for them?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we need to change that. Yeah.
I had one client come in, and I sat there, and I never met the guy before, and I discussed some of the symptoms of PTSD. And he got real tense and said, well, I'll call you back, and set up an appointment, and he got up and went out. And he set the appointment, and he come back in for the next one, and he said, I hate your guts. And I said, why? And he said, how can you, without even knowing who I am, know me so well? And he had all these symptoms and didn't realize it. And it's scary to have something so personal brought up by somebody you don't even know.
Yeah.
But like I said, there is help there, and that's the important part.
What kind of help?
We can get psychological help. A big thing that helps is setting our brothers up with ancestors, with other veterans. We're a lot more comfortable with other vets than we are with civilians because it's a shared experience.
Yeah. Is there any help out there for families?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would think that if families, people that surround the veteran have a better understanding and are kind of in on the plan, that they can assist.
Yeah, it's really important that the families know, because I think we've really done a lot as far as keeping marriages together. One of the problems we have is we'll go sit by ourselves and we'll think these bad thoughts about stuff that happened. And the wife will come up and say, "What's wrong?" And you say, "Nothing, just leave me alone. I'll take care of it." Well, and then the wife walks out thinking, "Geez, how'd I upset him?" And that happened often enough. The wife will figure, "Well, if I'm that bad for him, then I'm out of here." Where if she understands that there's a reason for what's going on and she can't fix it, but she knows she's not at fault, it's a lot easier for her to put up with.
So it sounds like getting that help is, do people just go to the VA and request it? Do they have to put in, file a specific claim? What?
It's easier to file a claim. The VA, you can file on your own, okay? You don't need a service rep like myself or the other organizations that are here in town that do it. You can do it on your own. But when you file a claim on your own, then the claim gets personal. Okay, I mean, it's you're hurting and you're trying to get help. The VA has certain ways they want things done. And filing on your own, you don't know what they want. So you miss steps and the claims get delayed and you get angry because it's hard on you because you know you need the help. So if a veteran goes to a service rep, then we know how the system works. I tell my clients it's a game and the VA's got the ball. But if you know the rules, you can win. If you haven't got them, you're not going to.
Yeah. I say go to a service rep.
Yeah.
Short circuit
absolutely.
all of that process. I mean, you spent 15 years now digging into this stuff.
And there's absolutely no cost.
No cost to the veteran for this whatsoever.
No.
Yeah, to get that additional help. All right, that sounds pretty important. You know, you brought this up just a little while ago, but it's, are they going after the services that are available to them as well?
More and more, yeah. Not enough. I was outside my office one day and I was talking to this older gentleman and his daughter come out and they started walking off and she turned around and looked at me and said, "Semper Fi." And I said, "What?" He said, "Semper Fi." And I said, she was a former Marine. And there's absolutely no way to tell except she said Semper Fi. So they're starting to acknowledge their service now, where they didn't before. And they have, same problems that we do. I mean, you can't be involved in traumatic situations like that and not be affected.
We'll take a break here. We have more questions to put to Steve Prince. Also, he has a very, very interesting personal background himself. Tells me that he was a guard for President Nixon and Ford, and we'll have a chance to ask him some questions about that. This is Meet in the Middle. I'm Christine Brown. Glad you could join us today. Welcome back today. My guest is Steve Prince. He basically helps folks file claims to the Veterans Administration. He is actually, a lot of his work is paid for by the Vietnam Veterans of America, and he lives here in the Tri-Cities. Steve, you tell me that you have done about 30,000 claims since the year 2000. Do you have any kind of a success rate on that? I mean, people can get denied too, can't they?
Yeah.
What's
but
your success
I'm
rate?
running about 96.
96%.
I'm a Marine. I don't like to lose.
That's really good. So again, people, another reason why you want to give him a call. I'm going to give you that phone number again. This is his cell phone number. You can call, leave a message, name, phone number, that type of thing. He'll get back to you. 528-0900. 528-0900. That's his cell number. So, do you think that we have enough money set aside to assist veterans, or do we have, veterans are not taking advantage of what is there? Do we need more money, or do we need to help veterans take advantage of what has already been allocated for them?
We need veterans to be aware of what's available.
Okay,
I think the money's there. There's really no doubt in my mind. But the guys and gals don't know what's available to them.
mm-hmm,
And they got a thing on the internet called e-benefits, which to me is totally confusing, and I don't even deal with it.
mm-hmm,
You know, maybe, but then I'm not computer literate either, so.
mm-hmm.
To not utilize all your benefits is sad.
It is. When money is out there, one, to pay for medical care, as well as you were talking earlier about disabilities and other kinds of monthly payments.
Hmm. Now we get, say if I file a claim for a Korean War vet for hearing loss and tinnitus, ringing in the ears.
Mm-hmm.
We win the tinnitus, he automatically qualifies for $8,000 worth of hearing aids. He qualifies for new eyeglasses, a new pair every year if he needs them. And he gets in the VA healthcare system where all his medications, each medication is only $8 a prescription.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it could be a real big thing for somebody on limited income.
Absolutely, yeah. So people need to look more closely, or simply be aware of it and call your office if they have any kind of a question. That would be my thought. All right, so while that person can hopefully call us back, let's talk a little bit about, I want to talk about your background. What was your service, Steve?
I worked with Presidential Security Unit. I worked with taking care of President Nixon while he was in San Clemente in California. I provided security for him from 71 to 73. And from 73 to 74, I was sergeant in charge of security up at Camp David Presidential Retreat.
Mm-hmm.
But when we were in California, the only time we saw Nixon was when he was there in San Clemente. And then we worked with the military police, did undercover work, all this silly stuff that I'm too old and fat to do now. What was Nixon like, or did you have any encounters with him that would give you any feel for what he was like as a person? We had quite a few encounters with him when Nixon had his own little private beach in California. Secret Service would take a trailer down there for him. And they had sent one man there who had a radio that had land, sea, and air capabilities. And we had Coast Guard cutters off the coast. We had a submarine out there. We had jets flying over and helicopters.
Wow.
And, but it would only be you right there. And I had been invited into his trailer 3 times for coffee, and we sit and talk. And it's basically, you know, you telling him about yourself personally.
Mm-hmm.
You really weren't allowed politics while you're in the military. You're standing next to the man with a 45 caliber pistol. So, you know, and your job was to keep him alive. So you didn't really get personal with him about his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Up at Camp David, he would come in and watch movies with us. We always had the best chow because they never knew when he'd come in to have dinner with us. He would stop us on the fence line and talk to us. So I knew President Nixon as a person, not as a politician.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked him. I liked him a lot.
What did he like to talk about that weren't politics? That would be curious.
His dogs.
Uh-huh.
We talked a lot about his dogs. we had different activities up there at camp. There's a little bitty skeet range. Bowling was a big thing for Dr. Kissinger. So it was just a lot of fun, really.
It sounds like it was. So what about Ford, Gerald Ford, President Ford? Did you spend much time with him?
Not too much. He kind of irritated us because, he was a big swimmer,
Yeah.
and his pool at his house there on camp was kidney shaped. So he'd come over and use our pool, which is Olympic size, and we couldn't swim there. So he was overly friendly
Mhm.
for my taste, but it's just personal problem.
Well, what an interesting perspective. I'm curious also about how you got involved in that, and the training that was involved. Well, we've got to take a break here. We're back with Steve Prince. If you have a call, question 547-8726. All right, my guest today is Steve Prince. He helps people make claims to the VA for all kinds of services. And your background is that you were, Secret Service? Is that what it was, or what?
No, it was Marine Corps.
Oh, okay.
Marine Security Company.
Marine Security. So it's not Secret Service, but I would be curious what you think about the stories that we've heard recently about President Obama's detail, the drinking, the prostitutes, that sort of thing.
I really have no opinion on that because, number one, they haven't been proven to me.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he's still alive says a lot of stuff. I mean, they're doing their job.
That is a really interesting way to look at it, isn't it? I'm sorry to laugh at that, but man, you're right. You're right. They are doing their job. He is alive. Okay. So I want to get back to, if we have folks out there who are thinking that they might want to contact you, what is the best way to do that? What's the best way to get a hold of you, Steve? Is to give you a call?
Yeah,
That's-
give me a
that's
call.
it?
Now, our office, I was lucky enough to run into a gentleman named Scott Shinsato who gave us an office there at the new Goodwill building off Court Street. They supplied 2 offices, reception area. They gave us all the computers, printers, furniture, internet, and phone for $1 a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's from Goodwill.
Right.
That's a lot of goodwill there. Mhm.
Yeah, they're great people, and want people to come in. There's a sign over the door that says Veteran Benefits. Have them come in. We'll talk to them, schedule appointments with them, whatever it takes.
All right. Let me give you your cell phone number again, where people can call and leave a message, and that is 509-528-0900. And so I'm just back to, what if people are maybe thinking, I'm not sure if this is a possible claim or if I have anything coming to me from the federal government, but I guess calling you is a good way to make that happen.
You bet. Call me and ask. I'm so honest it'll make them gag. And I don't file BS claims,
Okay.
so I will tell them if there is something wrong with it. But if you're a veteran, you've earned the benefit.
Mm-hmm.
One veteran cannot stop another veteran from getting help.
Mm-hmm.
They'll say, well, this guy needs it more than I do. Well, yeah, if he needs more help, he's going to get more help. But you should get what you deserve also. It's an earned benefit. You're not asking for something that you don't deserve. And I tell them, I guarantee you, the VA won't just give you something because you're a nice guy,
Yeah. What is the most frequent claim that you file? Do you know?
Hearing loss and ringing in the ears.
Ah, okay. And that ends up being, as you described before, a monthly payment,
Yeah,
and with all kinds of benefits for equipment.
yeah.
Mhm.
They most of the guys don't even realize they have hearing loss. So I tell them, you know, ask your wife. She'll let you know if you can hear or not. And they have ringing in their ears, which they just become accustomed to. Well, that in itself is a 10% disability. Now, if a veteran makes over $18,000 a year, he cannot get in the VA healthcare system. They figure he's got enough money to take care of his own problems. But if we file a claim for him, then that automatically gets him in the healthcare system. And hearing aids, you know, who's got $8,000 to put out for hearing aids?
Right,
You know,
yeah.
eyeglasses are expensive, and my medical experience with the VA, I think it's the best care available. They did heart procedures on me. They even did brain surgery on me.
And you're still here. I like that
Yeah,
analogy
for now.
also. Okay, so folks, Steve Prince is his name. His phone number, let me give it to you once again, his cell phone number, 528-0900. Steve, thank you so much for joining us today, and hopefully people will get what's due them. That's only right. We're back in a moment.